It's 9:33 right now, and this weekend subway surfing deaths have rattled the city, and parents in particular.
That's why in today's Pix Parenting Plus segment, we are turning to the experts for advice on how to monitor your child's social media, really, and their habits to keep them from falling prey to dangerous social media trends. Joining us this morning is Julie Scelfo. She's the founder of Mothers Against Media Addiction with some helpful tools here. So, Julie, good morning. Good to see you. Is she there?
I'm here. Good morning, Hazel and Dan.
Hey, Julie. How are you? You know, this dangerous social media trends are nothing new. We've been talking about it now for the last couple of years, right? But when you look at these subway surfing deaths, it raises the stakes here. Lives are at risk, which is why you've been fighting for Congress to pass the Kids Online Safety Act. Now, what is that?
We seem to have an unstable connection. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but my heart absolutely breaks for the families of the two girls who were killed in this horrible tragedy. Unfortunately, because of social media, these challenges that have been around for a long time are getting glorified and promoted to kids. The Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA, is the most important piece of legislation that Congress should be passing. It enables the strongest safety settings by default, and it mitigates key harms by disabling the addictive product features and forcing companies to go through annual independent auditing. You know, the last time Congress passed any law pertaining to social media was back in 1998, and that was before social media was invented.
Wow.
So KOSA has wide bipartisan support. Last year, it actually passed in the Senate by a vote of 91-3, and we're waiting on House leadership to bring it up again this year. In the meantime, at MAMA, we're very grateful to our lawmakers in New York, like Governor Hochul and Attorney General Tish James, who have made New York a leader by passing the Safe for Kids Act, which institutes many similar protections at the state level.
But aside from asking the social media companies to monitor themselves, what steps can we as parents take to track our kids' online habits and to identify any kind of dangerous trend?
You know, there's really no shortage of trackers and apps and settings that are available to parents to use to sort of monitor what their kids are doing online. But these solutions are really far from foolproof. The platforms themselves are intentionally designed to be addictive, and children who spend even brief periods of time on them are likely going to be exposed to dangerous, exploitive content and sometimes violent content. So quite simply, the best thing parents can do is wait as long as possible to give your kids smartphones. And even then, it's important to put critical guardrails around the time they spend online, and also make sure you're sitting with them as often as possible to actually see what they're seeing. And I know how hard this is to do. I have 3 kids, and I know our teenagers don't want us to see what they're seeing. But even sitting with them for 5 minutes helps you realize the kind of things that they're exposed to, and helps us realize that these companies are not being honest about the risk to our children. It's also really important to make sure you never, ever allow them to take their devices into their room at night. You may think that they power down their phones and their laptops and go to bed, but in reality, we know from data from these companies that our kids are still online scrolling, even in the middle of the night on school nights.
Yeah, you know, and it really comes down to the algorithm, right? I mean, you see it as an adult, too, that you are fed certain things in these algorithms on these social media platforms. So are there apps, I guess, for parents to understand, okay, I can put this on my kid's phone, they won't be fed the algorithm just like we are?
Well, you know, I signed up for one of these apps years ago, and then it started sending me over 100 emails a day to notify me that my children were being exposed to violent content, conversations about self-harm, alcohol, drugs, sexually explicit material. And that's when I realized that there really is no way for parents to do this alone. That's why the primary responsibility for ensuring kids are not exposed to harmful content online should be with the social media companies themselves. We don't expect parents to keep the food supply safe, and it's ridiculous to think that we individual parents can possibly solve for these massively powerful algorithms. I mean, that's why I started MAMA, Mothers Against Media Addiction, and that's why I hope your viewers will join with us.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. I have a preteen, and I want to be able to let her think to at least some extent that I trust her. So we're trying to have this trust relationship. So I don't want to be hovering over her every second, but how often should we realistically check our kids' devices for this questionable activity?
You know, remember, the teen brain is wired to take chances. So even if we trust them and even if they do their best and they agree to follow the rules, they're biologically wired to try to test limits. So if your teen or preteen has a device, and again, the best rule is to delay access to the internet and social media as long as possible. But if you're giving them one, please make sure you have a device agreement and that you review that regularly. Please take the time to look at what they're seeing. And, you know, if they don't want to show you, that's even more of a reason to try and figure it out. And you know, you can visit us at wearemama.org and sign up for our newsletter, because we do our best to notify parents every time there's a new challenge, and also to help you, you know, inspire lawmakers to take action.
Yeah, and you know, your organization played a big role in getting the phones banned in schools, right? But as a kid will do, or a teenager will do, they find a creative way to get around the rules, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the brain of a teenager. I mean, I remember doing it myself. So how can we as parents stay one step ahead? Bad connection.
You know, when it comes to the school phone bans, we are already getting just incredible positive reports from schools and schools administrators that despite the fact that some kids might occasionally try and break the rules, the school environment is improving. So we're seeing early reports that academic performance is increasing, teachers are happier, and the kids themselves are happier. So parents can establish healthier phone use by establishing clear rules at home, modeling healthy behaviors, set limits, don't use your phone at meals, and practice powering everything off an hour before bedtime. Also, again, you can visit us at wearemama.org, and we'll give you more tools and tips that you can use at home and in your community.
Yeah, these are tough rules to follow, but it is worth it. Julie, thank you so much for all this great advice. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.